We scheduled a home inspection like any other investment property. Walking through units, nothing really stood out. Roof looked fine, systems looked fine, standard stuff. Then the inspector pointed the crawl space and said, "I need to get under there and take a look." The opening was small, barely enough to shimmy through. All right. The inspector went in. We waited about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. He finally crawled back out, covered in dirt, looked at me without hesitation, said, "I wouldn't buy this." $43,000 later, we didn't walk away. We bought it anyway. Here's why the numbers didn't scare us off and why it might be the best deal on the street. $43,000 in foundation work is the kind of number that ends most deals before they start. Most buyers hear their own contractor say, "I wouldn't buy this," and that's the end of the conversation. They don't ask what's actually possible on the other side of the number. If we get this wrong, we're not just out the repair cost. We're stuck holding a building that nobody else wants either. So the real question was never, is this expensive? It's, what happens if we say no? 5 years ago, that contractor's warning would have ended it right there. Back then, cracks, sagging floors, crawl space you can't get into, that was an instant red flag for me. And it wasn't really about the house. It was about everything running through my head. And what if the repair estimate doubles once they open the walls? What if they can't get it rented while it's under construction? What if the building shifts after we fix it? What if insurance won't touch it? What if I just bought a money pit with my name on it? Every investor has those exact fears. I had all of them. I remember a property just like this one, years back, same story, crawl space too low to inspect the property. I passed. No real diagnosis, just fear. I never found out what happened to that building. Somebody bought it or sell on the market, but I have no idea. That's the version of me that would have walked away from this deal too. But something changed between then and now. And it's the reason I said yes this time. What changed wasn't that I became a structural engineer overnight. It's that I built a team, one small project at a time. I didn't start with anything close to a $43,000 job. I started with replacing a single beam. Then another property needed a few joists, sistered in. Then we replaced some piers on a job that felt terrifying at the time. Then we jacked up and leveled the entire section of a house. Every one of those projects taught me something that the last one didn't. Everyone built confidence for the next. By the time this deal came across my desk, "I wouldn't buy this" wasn't a stop sign anymore. It was just information. It told me what to plan for, not whether to walk. But knowing how to budget for it is only half the story. The other half is knowing what you're actually buying. Let's slow down and actually walk through this deal. The purchase price, $250,000. The contractor's estimate for structural repair, roughly $43,000. At first glance, people hear $43,000 and immediately check out. But that's the wrong way to analyze investments like this. The question isn't how much is the repair, it's what's the building worth after the repair is done. That $43,000 isn't some vague number either. It covers replacing damaged piers, sistering the worst joints, reinforcing the beams that carry the structure, and releveling sections of the floor that have settled over the years. That's what you're actually paying for. Not a mystery, a scope. Total renovation budget, including gutting and refinishing 3 units. On top of the structural work, $57,000. On paper, that's $100,000 into a $250,000 building. That's the number that scares people off. Here's what it doesn't show you. I'm an agent in this market. I own 3 properties on this exact street, plus a 4-unit building nearby. I'm not guessing what the rents should be. I already know because I'm collecting it 2 doors down. I know vacancy rates on this block. I know which unit rents first and why. I know the maintenance history of the buildings around this one. I know exactly what a renovated unit here brings because I'm the one leasing them. And that's the edge most buyers looking at this deal didn't have. And I want you to run the numbers with that edge. $43,000 problem looks like something else entirely. After full renovation, this property is projected to be worth $360,000. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, PITI, runs about $1,800 a month. Conservative rental income, $3,600 a month. The market holds where I think it will $4,400 a month. And that's the turn. $43,000 foundation problem isn't the risk in the deal. It's the reason nobody bid on it. The same three words that ended it for another buyer, I wouldn't buy this, are the reason we got it below what it's actually worth. But I'm not telling you to go find a scary foundation and buy it in the blind. There's a process. Skipping it is how people get burned. Here's exactly how we evaluate structural issues. Every time, no exception. Step 1, home inspection. Identifies the concern. Step 2, qualified structural contractor. Gets eyes on it directly. Step 3, if it's significant enough, bring a structural engineer for real diagnosis, not a guess. Step 4, pull permits if the work requires it. That's not a hurdle. That's what makes sure the work gets inspected and done right. Step 5, budget roughly 10% over whatever the initial estimate says. Once you start opening walls, pulling up flooring, you'll find more. Sometimes you won't need that cushion. Sometimes it's the only reason the deal works. And I'll be honest, this hasn't always gone perfectly for me. I've had jobs where the estimate held exactly to the number. I have had others where we opened up the floor. We found a second problem waiting under the first problem. That's not a reason to avoid this kind of work. It's the reason you budget like it might happen. If you're new to this, don't run from foundation problems and don't blindly jump into them either. Build a team first. Start small. Learn the small repairs. Learn what these small repairs actually cost and why. Experience doesn't remove the risk. It changes how you evaluate it. 5 years ago, I heard I wouldn't buy this, and that was the whole decision. Today, I hear the same words, and I ask what in question. What's the cost to fix it? Because the biggest opportunities in this business usually scare almost everyone else first. And that's exactly where they're hiding.